Okay, that's my ugly face right there. I think we can start 9:30. I'm surprised that I'm becoming more and more punctual. I don't know what's going on with this second lockdown. It's just changing my whole personality. Let's see. Let's see who's online. Wait a second. Mary, stacca da internet. Okay. We are live on Facebook as well. We have many people watching us on Facebook. Again, this makes me nervous. I have a little bit of anxiety, but I think everything is going to be all right because we have a beautiful, beautiful night. It's a Amarone night. So today we'll be exploring the whole Valpolicella region and the amazing techniques that are used in this region to make wine. Amazing techniques of winemaking that make these wines special and particular and famous all over the world. We are talking about Valpolicella Classico, Valpolicella Ripasso, Valpolicella Amarone, and Valpolicella Recioto. So tonight, we have an amazing lineup as usual. Beautiful, beautiful wines. We have also a dessert wine tonight, and we have an amazing guest whose name is Camilla Rossi Chauvenet from Massimago. She's a bright and talented young woman, young entrepreneur and winemaker of the winery Massimago that I'm very happy and excited to have here. I'm very glad to have her here tonight. So for the ones that don't know me, my name is Francesco Maramai. I'm the head sommelier of the Perbacco Wine Club and the Osteria del Borgo in Montepulciano, Italy. And with our wine club, we started this series of master classes during this fall and winter. They are going to explore the most important Italian appellations. We started 4 weeks ago with the Brunello di Montalcino with two amazing guests. 2 weeks ago, we did the Super Tuscans wine tasting, virtual tasting. Today, we're going to do the Amarone night. On December 13th, we will have the Barolo and Barbaresco masterclass and virtual tasting that I'm very looking forward to. We have two amazing guests as well. I don't want to spoil the surprise, but two amazing winemakers. And on December 27th, we have the Chianti Classico and Vino Nobile di Montepulciano masterclass. So needless to say, tonight is going to be amazing because there's so many things to say about the Amarone and about Recioto and about Valpolicella. It's an amazing region, beautiful landscape, beautiful towns, just on the north, on the countryside, on the north, surrounding Verona, which is my favorite city in Italy. I love Verona. I think it's the city of love, one of the most beautiful cities in the world for sure. So for the ones that have done this tasting, I see many people online on Zoom belong to our wine club, and you guys are obviously familiar with my face and with our method, how we carry on this masterclass. So I will be doing an introduction with a PowerPoint presentation about Valpolicella. Then I will introduce Camilla, our talented and amazing special guest for tonight. And then I have some questions for Camilla because I'm very curious. When I did the Brunello di Montalcino masterclass or the Super Tuscan masterclass, I was playing at home. I was playing in a field that I'm very familiar with since, I grew up around Brunello di Montalcino Super Tuscans. But I'm very curious and fascinated by Amarone della Valpolicella. So I have a lot of questions for Camilla for tonight. Camilla, get ready. I know you're online. I'll be with you in about 20 minutes. So after my questions to Camilla, we go on with the wine tasting. We will taste the first 3 wines of the night will be Massimago. So the wines that are made by Camilla. And then you can ask your questions. So people live on Zoom, you can, write on the chat question. I will activate your video and you can ask questions to me and to Camilla as well. So it doesn't happen really often that you can interact live with an amazing winemaker and owner of a winery, very knowledgeable. So if you have questions, just, ask them. Feel free to ask them. There's no shame. I remember 4 weeks ago, we had a question that surprised me because it was a very smart question, because we were talking about doing the wine tasting of all the components of the wines. And I was mentioning the tannins all the time, like I'll be doing tonight. So if you don't know what tannins means or pigment or any technical words, just feel free to ask me. We are here to learn together. I'm here to share, the few things that I've learned in the last year studying, but mostly drinking. I'm more than willing and happy to share them with you. Okay, so we can start with the presentation. I'm now gonna share my screen with you all. Okay. Obviously, my computer goes really fast when I'm trying to figure out before the tasting, and during the tasting is just the slowest computer ever. This is very usual. Okay, here we are. This is the presentation. Amarone, an amazing bitter mistake. I will explain you why Amarone is a mistake. Probably the best mistake ever done. It's like the guy that accidentally poured coffee on his milk and invented cappuccino. Those kind of mistakes that changed history, or my personal history, because I love both cappuccino and Amarone, of course. So the presentation was done by me, Francesco Maramai, obviously, for the Perbacco Wine Club. Okay, let's see why Amarone is such a big mistake. First of all, I'd like to give you an idea of where we are. Obviously, to the left, the one that I'm pointing out now is Italy, the most beautiful boot in the planet. So here, where I am now, this is Rome. This is Tuscany. And if you go 3 hours of Italian driving, so 4 hours of actual driving, this is Veneto, and Valpolicella is here. Veneto is a beautiful region. I mentioned Verona before, my favorite town in the world, one of my favorite towns in the world. I have to mention Venice, obviously. If you guys are familiar with Amarone, you might be familiar with Prosecco as well. So Prosecco, Veneto is the place birth for Prosecco. Veneto is one of the most important regions that we have in Italy. It's now probably the engine of the Italian economy. But back in the days, Veneto used to be very poor. So we'll discuss about this with Camilla as well. During the 50s and the 60s, especially with the post-Second World War depression, Veneto was really poor. It was a very rural area. So mostly farmers were living here. So, farmers were cultivating these grapes that we're tasting now, but they were vinifying the grapes as a beautiful dessert wine that is Recioto. Recioto is the king of Valpolicella. Amarone is the prince of Valpolicella, since it's much younger than Recioto. So this is Verona here. To the left, to the west, northwest, this is the Valpolicella Classica, the original area for Valpolicella. This is Valpantena, that belongs to the Valpolicella appellation, and Valpolicella Orientale, the eastern Valpolicella, where Camilla and Massimago are located in Mezzane di Sotto, right here. So this is the area of where Amarone is made. So why a mistake? The mistake that conquered the world. So Amarone was born from a faulty Recioto parcel. So the most important wine of that period during the 30s, the 40s, was Recioto, a dessert wine. But the legend has it that in 1936, while tasting some barrels of Recioto left for too long in the cellar, Mr. Adelino Lucchese, who was the CEO and winemaker of the local cooperative cellar in Negrar, called this wine Amarone, the big bitter in Venetan dialect, and found out about the qualities of this great dry version of Recioto. Other historians say that the discovery was done during the German invasion in Second World War, when farmers were hiding precious food supplies to German army. But so what happens, long story short, if you take Recioto, Recioto is made by halting the fermentation. So if you don't complete the fermentation process, you have a dessert wine, because the fermentation process is a chemical process that you start with the grapes by making wine. So you pick up the grapes, you press the grapes, you make the juice, and then the grapes have glue on the outside, on the skin, that absorb the yeast in the air. By crushing the grapes, the yeast get in touch with the pulp, with the sugars. So the yeast transform the sugar into alcohol. This is why if you taste the grapes, they are sweet. If you taste the wine, it's not sweet usually, because if you finish the fermentation all the way through, the wine will be dry with no residual sugar. But if you stop at half time the alcoholic fermentation, you have lower alcohol content and more sugar. Therefore, you have a dessert wine. So Amarone is just a Recioto whose fermentation process was completed by mistake, actually, at the beginning. So it is a fact that Recioto is the original wine of Valpolicella, and Amarone was born by a wonderful mistake. So Amarone has never been Amarone, like this great wine that everyone loves and everyone is talking about and it's sold all over the world. Amarone had its struggles, especially at the beginning, very difficult start, to say the least. So Amarone entered in the market in the late 50s as a dry substitute for Recioto. The general public was not ready for it, and the wineries were struggling with sales until it was discovered, thanks to Mr. Gaetano Bertani, during a wine fair in New York City in the 70s, and slowly started its inexorable ascent to the top. So let me say one thing, Mr. Gaetano Bertani, one of the most important people, not just for Amarone, not just for Veneto, but for all Italy, and actually for the whole world of viticulture, passed away 2 days ago. So may he rest in peace, and condolences to the family. A huge loss. Another very important person that has left us in this terrible 2020. So Amarone is nowadays one of the most iconic wines and a fierce representative of Italy in the world. So while the public loves this wine, some European wine snobs, I always mention wine snobs because I don't like wine snobs, right? They know nothing about wine, because wine snobs are the ones that think they know everything about wine, but when you think you know everything about wine, it means that you know nothing about wine. Anyway, so they criticize Amarone for being too unbalanced. And I'm going to use a word that might sound offensive, Americanized. So indelicately referring to overwhelming fruits, big concentration, and high alcohol, similar to Napa wines. So what these wine snobs say that the wines in Napa and Amarone are very similar, just too much fruit forward, too overwhelming, too deep of an impact in the beginning, but then they have no development in the mouth. It's just a lot of fruits, but then there's no linearity, there's no quality to it. This is wrong. This probably could have been possible in the 80s and the 90s, when both Napa and Amarone, they tended to make this ripe and very concentrate wine, very juicy and with a lot of residual sugars. But nowadays, this is not true, because amazing wines are made in Napa, obviously, and you will find out how the 6 wines from Valpolicella Superior and Recioto, they always have a beautiful balance, beautiful linearity, beautiful acidity, and a tannic kick to them. The balance is really well the structure. So nowadays, Amarone has found its balance, its identity, and has reached extremely high quality standards and also high quality prices, if I may, because Amarone is not just an everyday wine. The price of the Amarone is high, but now we will see why Amarone is so expensive, because here it is, Il Fruttaio, where the magic happens. Fruttaio is a fruit barn. Every winery in Valpolicella has an area in their cellar where they dry the grapes. So here you lose a big amount of wine in order to have dried grapes, to have more concentration and more body and more structure, obviously. So you lose a lot of quantity. You lose 30 to 40%. Plus, you have to wait 3 years before the Amarone is released. So you see already the price goes higher and higher. So this justifies the price of the Amarone, even though you can find really affordable wines in Valpolicella if you know where to look. So where the magic happens, the fruit barn in which grapes are drying for 90 to 120 days for the Amarone, even more for the Recioto, for the dessert wine. So you see the beautiful fruit barns, and we're gonna see Massimago's fruit barns that is just beautiful. You know, the grapes are drying in straw mats in a ventilated environment in order not to develop molds, because if you develop molds, it's a disaster. You don't make Amarone, you just throw everything away. So here in the fruit barn, the grapes are resting for 3 to 4 months in order to get more concentration of sugar, more structure, and higher aromatic compounds. So 30–40% of the weight of the grapes, and therefore wine quantity, is lost in the process. I love this one. I'm very proud of this graphics. So a Corvina cluster in the fruit bar. You see, this is Corvina, which is the most important grape that you find in Valpolicella. We will see the other grapes later, but this is, you know, Corvina is the most planted and the most used grape in Valpolicella. You see to the left, during the day of the harvest, you see this just perfect. These grapes are beautiful. This cluster is just amazing. The skins are perfect, and you know, this is a beautiful cluster. After 40 days, you have this result, right? This is the same grape. So you see that is drying up, and you lose 15% of the weight after 40 days. But the Amarone ages for a minimum, the grapes that dry for a minimum of 90 days. So you have this result after 90 days, losing 30% of the weight. So what happens during the drying process? The water evaporates, and you have more concentration of sugar in the pulp, and more concentration of the aromatic compounds, more aroma, because you lose water. So, you know, this is why Amarone is so structured, because it's made with dried grapes. Same local grapes, 5 different wines. So this is the grape that we saw before, Corvina. This is her like bigger brother, Corvinone. Corvinone means obviously big Corvina. Rondinella and Molinara. Then you have other varietals like Oseleta, like that are produced in smaller quantities, but these 4 grapes are the most important ones. Okay, thanks to Wine Folly, which is a great wine influencer and great sommelier. She's very knowledgeable, and she does these beautiful charts. She's an amazing follower on Instagram because she's very educational page. You have the wine pyramid of Valpolicella, from Valpolicella Classico to Recioto, to Amarone, ending with Recioto della Valpolicella. Now we will see the five different wines, starting from Valpolicella Classico, just an everyday wine. Is a DOC, of controlled originally denomination, so it's an appellation. Has the largest quantity produced, more like an everyday wine, and you can drink it in spring and summer, and you can try to serve it slightly chilled by the pool. Is just perfect. You can pair it with pizza, like pizza with meat, like a pepperoni pizza would be just perfect. Pasta, like a bolognese pasta would be perfect. Light meats like poultry, like chicken, stuff like this. Fried chicken would be perfect, and grilled vegetables. So expect to spend around between $10 and $20. Now, like we are getting on the tiers of quality in the wine pyramid of Valpolicella, we have Valpolicella Superiore, another DOC of controlled origin denomination, minimum 12% of alcohol, and at least 1 year in wood, 1 year of aging. Here you will have obviously more concentration and darker color than a Valpolicella Classico. You can drink this in shoulder seasons, in spring and fall, because the body here starts to be a little bit higher, fuller. And you can pair it with burgers, perfect, roasted chicken, fresh cheese, and cold cuts. So expect to spend in between $20 and $35. So today we'll taste an amazing Valpolicella Superiore by Massimago that will surprise you, I'm sure. So the background is very messy here. You cannot see very well, but I wanted to show you. If you focus on, not on the foreground, but on the background now, these are the wine pommes. So meaning grape and skin solids that are used after the fermentation of the Amarone and the fermentation of the Recioto is done. So when the fermentation is done, you have this dried part of the grape of the grapes that are obviously separated from the wine, and you have three ways to dispose them. The first one, which is my favorite, you bring them to the distillery and you make amazing grappa. Grappa is the spirit that is very popular, especially in the north, especially in Veneto, in Valpolicella area. Everyone drinks grappa, really, from 10 years old up to 90 years old. Grappa is something that can cure a disease. If you have fever, you drink grappa and you'll be fine. Headache, you drink grappa, will be fine. Probably worse with COVID. They can try to shoot grappa, probably solve the problem. But all jokes aside, this is the first way to dispose about these, leftovers. The second is to use them as a manure in the fields for the following harvest. And the third one, which is an incredibly smart way, is the one that they use in Valpolicella area. So we will see why. Valpolicella Superior Ripasso, another DOC, one of Italy's best values. So this one is a great transition for Napa Cabernet lovers who want to explore Italian wines. An incredible entry-level wine for the people that are not familiar with Italian wines. So it's made by macerating Amarone pommes, so grape skins and solids, with fresh Valpolicella Classico. So in poor areas, farmers would never throw away anything. So they use the pommes to enrich the everyday wine that they have. So this is a very smart concept, because back in the days, and we were discussing this today when we were briefing with Camilla, Valpolicella was, as I told you, a rural area, very, very poor in the 50s and the 60s. Then in the 70s, 80s, 90s, they lived an economical boom in Veneto, but it was very, very poor after the Second World War. So it was a shame to throw all these skins and solids, leftovers, away. So they used them to enrich the everyday wine, to make it more noble, to make it more fuller bodied, more flavored. And this is beautiful. As Camilla said today, and I'm gonna steal her quotes, the farmers is like, wine is like pig. You don't throw away anything of the pig. You use everything. There's no leftovers. Like Italian cuisine is made with leftovers. Sometimes, amazing dishes like ribollita, for instance, the Italian soup, is made with leftovers. So there's no leftovers in poor families. So it's nice to find this beautiful way to reuse and to recycle. So the Valpolicella Superiore Ripasso will be medium to full bodied, rich, soft, and complex, yet very accessible price-wise. You can drink it in fall and winter. You can pair this wine with a steak, with mushroom preparation and dark umami flavors. So expect to spend about $30 on this wine. Very fascinating about Valpolicella. I love their philosophy of winemaking. Here we are, the charming prince of Valpolicella, Amarone, is a DOCG, so of controlled and guaranteed origin denomination. It's an appellation, the higher tier of appellation in Italy, made with Valpolicella grapes that are dried for 3 to 5 months. So sugars have all fermented to dryness, but the illusion of sweetness remains because you have smoothness, you have silkiness in the mouth at the beginning. Minimum 3 years prior, 3 years of aging prior to release, and many producers wait as long as 5 years before releasing. This wine can sell for 10 years. Today we have the honor and the privilege of tasting an Amarone that is aged for 10 years, Antolini Caccoato 2010, which is just on its peak, and it's just beautiful, beautiful, amazing. Some other Amarone can sell for more than 20 years, even 30, 40 years. You have a lot of Amarone from Bertani from the 70s, and now they are just amazing. So the percentage of alcohol is really high in Amarone. So minimum is 14%, but usually we are talking about 15, 16, up to 17 and more %, We have one wine, the Amarone from Massimago, 17% of alcohol. This is because the grapes are dried. Therefore, you have more concentration of sugar. More sugar equals more alcohol during the fermentation. So the wine will obviously be full-bodied, have nuances of dried fruit, firm tannins, a high acid as well. This is the beautiful thing about the Amarone. You have a lot of body, a lot of fruit, but you have balance because you have this beautiful acidity that makes the wine very pleasant. You don't get tired after half glass of Amarone. You can drink a lot of it until you get drunk because 70% of alcohol is pretty high. So when to drink Amarone? Ideally winter time, but we don't care. If we feel like drinking in summer, who cares? The Amarone can obviously be paired with braised meats and aged cheese. The best wine pairing, the umami pairing of Amarone is aged cheese with 2-3 drops of aceto balsamico on top of it. So think about a seasoned Parmigiano Reggiano, like a 36 months Parmigiano Reggiano, put balsamic on top, and the pairing with the Amarone is just the most beautiful pairing that you can do in the world of wine. So expect to spend obviously $50 or more, up to $500 easily for the most important Amarones. And then we have the king, Recioto della Valpolicella. It's a DOCG, another DOCG appellation, and is a dessert wine. So they're using the same grapes as Amarone and the same process of drying, but the fermentation is halted before complexion to leave residual sugar in the wine. So the result will be a sweet wine, extremely concentrated, spectacularly complex, rich in dried fruits, jam, and dried even nuts. It's beautiful flavors, lots of tannins and bright acidity. This is why I love this wine, because even though it's a dessert wine, so obviously very soft, has got nice acidity and also beautiful tannin. And this tannin that the Recioto has makes a perfect pairing with dark chocolate. So think about a chocolate tart, probably with even red fruits, like berries, red berries and black currant on top, with syrup of red currants on top. And it's going to be the perfect wine pairing with the Recioto. Beautiful, just outstanding. And this wine can sell for 20 to 30 years. Here we are. So we're going to sum up the Amarone della Valpolicella, DOCG, the grapes. So will be Corvina, 45 to 95%, Corvinone maximum 50%, Rondinella from 5% to 30%, and other local varietals such as, Oseleta and other grape varietals, maximum 25%. So same grapes I use for all Valpolicella reds. Aging of Amarone is 3 years. So 36 months for Amarone, 48 months for the Reserva. The appellation Amarone granted the DOC status in 1990 and the DOCG in 2009. So it's a young appellation, despite the amazing name that Amarone has. It's a pretty young appellation. So grape drying, again, minimum 90 days. The average is 120 days, losing 30 to 40% of production. So grapes are harvested ripe and dried on straw mats traditionally, to allow concentration of sugar and aromatic compounds. So once the drying is finished, fermentation starts. If this process is stopped and residual sugars are left, we have Recioto. While if fermentation is complete, we have Amarone. The pomace left of the Amarone are used to make Ripasso della Valpolicella. So this is the wine lineup for tonight. Line up the wines as listed. A beautiful journey from Valpolicella Superior to Recioto with the background of Valpolicella. The first one will be Massimago Valpolicella Superiore Profasio. The second one is going to be Massimago Amarone Conte Gastone, the one with the funny label to make you understand which one is it. The third one will be the Classico Amarone from Massimago. The fourth one will be Begali Amarone Classico 2014. The fifth one is going to be Antolini Amarone Classico Caccoato 2010. And the last one, obviously, will be the dessert wine, Begali Recioto Valpolicella Classico 2015. Special guest of the night, actually day for you, in the United States, is Camilla Rossi Chauvenet, young guardian and creator of Massimago. So Camilla gave her imprinting to the estate and brought Amarone into the third millennium. It's very interesting what Camilla has to say. What Camilla is doing is just amazing. Her wine were selected by me last year for the wine club, Perbacco Wine Club shipment in fall 2019, as you guys remember, where the theme was female winemakers, women of wine, because I personally believe that women brought in the 90s and 2000s in a world that was mainly men predominant. They brought a new perspective, a new attention, and a great, entrepreneurial and winemaking point of view that is just amazing. So Camilla is the symbol of this new movement, also of young people, because she started when she was very young, and she's doing a tremendous job. So okay, I think now Camilla can. Okay, now you see my face. Camilla, you can activate your video. Ciao.
Yeah. Ciao. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yes, really well.
Thank you, Francesco, to give me this opportunity, because I'm really enthusiastic to be with you here today. And thank you for your synthesis, because I'm amazed by your English, by your proper way to describe Amarone in a playful way, in a quick way, in a professional way. So thank you very much.
No, thank you, Camilla. You're very kind, and I'm very, we've had beautiful, amazing guests for the previous two wine tastings, but tonight I'm very happy, because as I was telling before, I'm very familiar with Tuscan wines, but I'm very curious to find out about Amarone and about the beautiful wines from Valpolicella with you. I mean, you have been in the wine business for quite a few years, even though you're very young. You started when you were a baby. So my question is, you're a young woman that started the winery from scratch. So what drove you to struggle and suffer this much? Because winemaking can give you a lot of satisfaction, but it's a lot of work.
But Francesco, I started like a startup, but in the wine business, starting from scratch is quite unusual, especially in Italy, as in France, and the old world. So I take inspiration from the Californian wine producers, for sure. But I started to be fascinated by wine when I was 18. So since that, I started a sommelier course, because I never saw wine bottles in my house because my parents don't drink wine at all. So you can imagine
I've never heard of two people from Veneto that don't drink alcohol. This is my first time. The first time in my life this happens.
But it happens. So sometimes it happens. And when you are in the middle of in Verona, in Veneto, and in your house, you then find bottles, except in Christmas time, you have to, in a way, escape from this situation and start to learn a little bit about wine, especially because I was fascinated by perfumes since when I was a kid. And since that, I really started getting into the wine world. But I decided to start studying agronomy, agriculture, and then at that time I was the only girl doing that.
Yeah.
But, I had the opportunity also to study abroad, and that gave me also the enthusiasm and the strength to go forward. And I studied in France and Spain, and over there, there were many other young people that started their own farm, and I thought that I had to copy them and to bring in Italy this youth.
Yeah, this breath of fresh air. We need it, because as I was telling before, the world of wine was men predominant. So you had these old farmers, this old man, these noble families, always the same people. Like in Tuscany, for instance, there are like 10 noble families, and they were owning just them making wine and selling wine. So we needed a breathe of fresh air. And this is thanks to you, because I tend, when I do wine tasting and when I drink wines made by young winemakers, agronomists, and young entrepreneurs, I find out that you young people of the wine are projected into the future, but you keep an eye on the past because you go back to tradition. And this is a beautiful paradox, that younger people are following more and more the tradition. So a lot of people from bigger cities are going back to the farms and they're making wine. I think this is beautiful. This is a beautiful wave of, joy and enthusiasm and innovation that we need a lot. So you're doing a tremendous job, and thank you so much for that. I'm very happy.
Me too, to be here with you talking about that. Because thank you.
Okay, so obviously the most fascinating thing about Valpolicella is how the grapes are, you pick the grapes during the harvest, and then you dry them in the fruttaio, in the fruit barn. And this is very fascinating, because I think this is a symbol of, nowadays everyone is, in a hurry. Everyone wants to go fast. You need to go fast. You need to make things quickly. I think the way you dry grapes in Valpolicella is a beautiful way to show that for good things it takes patience. It takes to be relaxed. It takes calm to achieve incredible results like you guys are doing in Valpolicella. And this is very fascinating. So you were telling me that you have 3 harvests.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. Because even compared to others fruttaio in the Valpolicella area, we decided to dedicate much more attention to our raw material. So to our grapes, instead of giving attention to our cellar instruments. So as a restaurant, we decided to give much more, to invest even much more money on our raw material, on our grapes, instead of making different processes. So we decided to go back in the past, and to try to keep the time, and to give a different timing even to this process. Because you should think that to do that, you do 3 different grape harvests. So the first one we use for the sparkling wine. So we made the first sparkling wine made with Corvina, Corvinone, Rondinella. Then the second one is for the Amarone, and the third one is for the Valpolicella. So there is already a selection, a really tough selection on the fields. And then when you got these grapes, you should be really careful bringing them to this place, so to the fruttaio. So you should imagine vines all over the world, all over different parcels, so far away from the fruttaio. And when you should keep and bring them to the fruttaio, sometimes it's really the risk is really high, because you can break the skins, you can have some problems on transportation. Yeah. And so that's why we decided to make this fruttaio in the heart of our property. So our property is more or less...
I will show you, I will share my screen, and I will show the pictures that you sent me today of the fruttaio, which is very interesting. You can continue talking, so people will see.
So, and instead of making a closed fruttaio where temperature and humidity are controlled, in the industrial district, sometimes some wineries do that to keep as much as possible control, because it's really expensive doing this. So we decided to do the opposite way. So to create like a Japanese house, so where you can have all the perimeter with some windows that you can keep open during sunny days, not in a humid day. raining. But doing that, we saw that we could keep longer this process. So we could keep at least, because you probably know that you should keep the grapes at least 100 days, because if you stop this process before, you cannot have the same perfumes and the same, because the grapes are alive in these 100 days. So they, to keep the enzymatic process keeping going, you should absolutely keep it as long as possible. So in this way we can keep till January normally.
Wow.
So
this makes the difference. I mean, because I have one of the commonest questions that I get as a sommelier when I open a bottle of Amarone. I always say that what makes the difference in Amarone is how you dry the grapes. Then the same question that I get, because it looks easy when you say it. Everyone says, why other people don't do that? Because in Amarone, you have the perfect, in Valpolicella, you have a beautiful culture of doing this. You have skills, you have knowledge, and it's not an easy job, like you said, because especially nowadays, the harvests are becoming, when you harvest the grapes, now the temperature are becoming higher and higher. And you have more risk that if you crash the grapes, probably you can start the fermentation in the grapes basket, for instance. So it's very difficult to control the process, and it's very difficult to make Amarone. It's not an easy job. This is why, you know, this kind of winemaking process is made only in Valpolicella. There are in other probably regions in the world and in Italy is made, but you guys are the ones that do it better, to be honest.
Better, I don't know, but yes, it's truly an expensive process, because you should think, please just think about leaving a bunch of grape on your kitchen table for 1 month or even more. Just think about how the insects are gonna come, the mold is gonna come if just one berry is cut out, you know. So it's really risky, and because you pay a lot of money, people coming harvesting 3 times in your fields, then have the energy to keep it controlled at least for the first 30 days, and then of course, if the temperature is too humid, and think about the trouble you have afterwards vinifying this gorgeous wine, because you have to reuse a cellar that you used already in September. You have to open it again. So
it's crazy.
Crazy.
It's a lot of manual work. It's a lot of people that you have to employ in the fields and in the cellar as well. It's just crazy.
But it's fun, because indeed you obtain something unique, something that could survive for a longer time, and you can breathe and feel.
Yeah.
You can really you see the difference compared with any other wine. So and I see that you are started already to drink to taste.
Yes. Well, if you put me a glass of Profazio in front of me, I can't help it but a drink, because this wine is beautiful. So this is going to be the first wine, Profazio 2015 Valpolicella Superiore. So do you mind if I call this a baby Amarone?
No, I don't mind. Absolutely.
Because it's a baby Amarone, because you dried the grapes for 30 days, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to share the screen again so people can see the technical details.
I think that I'm the Taliban of Valpolicella Superiore.
The Taliban. Yeah, I love this.
I always believe that Valpolicella Superiore could reflect the identity of our land, our area. It's an authentic wine that is not like just Valpolicella, but is in the middle between Amarone and Valpolicella. We take 30 days to dry. I mean, the grapes are dried for 30 days, but after that we vinify, so we can keep the perfumes of the dry process, but at the same time we don't increase the sugars as Amarone. So in this way we could we saw how you can still keep the soil characteristics. So the identity of methane, for example, is the balsamic notes like sage, rosemary. So this kind of pepper notes, and then indeed you can feel also the freshness and the elegance of wine that is not too much.
Beautiful balance. This is something that I can drink all night through. I mean, I can drink 2 bottles of this easily. So this wine was selected on the wine club choices, the Perbacco Wine Club in fall 2019. So I selected Profazio and also the Amarone Classico 2013. The Profazio was 2014. This 2015 is beautifully complex. It was a very nice vintage for Valpolicella too. So if you don't mind, I go ahead with the tasting.
Absolutely, go ahead.
Interrupt me if I say something stupid. Just stop me, right?
Okay.
I'm always very afraid of saying something stupid in front of the winemaker.
Wow.
Let alone in front of the whole social media, Facebook pages and also the members of our wine club, obviously. But yeah, in front of the winemaker is a big responsibility. Okay, so we go with Massimago, Profazio 2015, Valpolicella Superior DOC. Grapes are 65% Corvina, 20% Corvinone, 15% Rondinella. As Camilla mentioned, 30 days of drying time for the grapes, 12 months in French oak. The altitude of the vineyard is in between 100 and 350 meters above sea level. The soil is limestone, clay, and marley soil. The production, as well as all the other wines from Camilla, is pretty limited, 6,000 bottles made. Residual sugar is only 2 grams per liter, so this is a dry wine, obviously. Alcohol percentage, 14.5, and the price is gonna be 32 euros of this one. Okay, I go ahead with the tasting. The color is a beautiful red ruby, beautiful with a great light. So when you have this light on the wine, when you have this transparency, you can tell that the wine is vibrant, the wine is alive, the wine has beautiful acidity. So my taste buds are anticipating this acidity already. This the visual examination of a wine tells a lot to a sommelier and to a winemaker. So I love the color of this wine, and obviously I've tasted this wine while we were talking, and obviously today as well. But you know, this is beautiful and very, as you said, very well balanced. So okay, let's go with the nose. Beautiful elegance as well, very neat, very precise. Nice. Extremely elegant, as I said, very pleasant. It does not have the, you know, the overwhelming impact and fruit that the Amarone usually have, but it's extremely gentle, extremely precise, and really well refined. So you have beautiful notes of ripe cherry, like a ripe plum, red berries, red currant, like this kind of red fruits. And a lot of black pepper as well. So black pepper is, this peppery note is very typical of Valpolicella wines. You know, and a taste like licorice as well, like a licorice that is not too bitter, but a sweet licorice. Very, very nice, very neat. Yeah, you have red flowers, and as you said, herbal notes. This beautiful herbal personality of, you know, Mediterranean scrubs and like rosemary, that is beautiful. Almost, I smell, probably because I'm drinking, it's pretty cold in this room, so I'm smelling some red orange as well, like a Campari, like kind of Negroni character to it, but it's probably because it's the temperature is lower than what it's supposed to be. Let's see the palate. So the palate is structured. It's you know, it's not as structured as an Amarone, but it's got big personality, but yet very, very elegant and very well balanced with this vibrant acidity. The tannin is creamy, and there's a mineral touch at the end that is just perfect. The balance of this one, I always say that I'm the Mr. Miyagi of wines. I like balance, you know, like the Karate Kid professor. Like I like balance in things, in wines. My life is not balanced, but I like my wines when they're balanced. You know, a beautiful balance, and a very long-lasting finish of this. You know, red berries, notes of red berries in my mouth. It's an effluvium of beautiful red fruits, and very nice. So it doesn't, this is a wine that doesn't fear the comparison with its older brother, Amarone. It's a wine with big personality. You know, I think the best wine pairing is probably with soft cheese, probably. Soft cheese, or even like a grilled lamb with herbs, with these Mediterranean scraps, nuances, probably with grilled lamb with herbs is probably perfect. So I do wine pairing with music, and I know that you do something very similar. I believe, you know, in giving idea of what I'm drinking, expressing what I'm drinking with music. I think this is like Lady Gaga, because it's a beautiful balance of, you know, the powerful voice of Lady Gaga, yet, you know, extremely classy and elegant, like the late Lady Gaga, not the first Lady Gaga, the more mature Lady Gaga. This beautiful power, this beautiful elegance. I like this one a lot. Congratulations, Camilla. Do you have anything else to add? And we don't have your audio.
Voilà. Probably
okay.
About the name, because Profasio, it's a strange word. Because we steal it from all the recipe that passed from the female line of my family, and it was the name of a secret recipe of a melting pot of spices and herbs that were used to conquer the partners of my female family. So they were putting these spices to fall in love with
like a magic potion, like something.
Potion. So I steal this name because it was a secret recipe, but because you can see Profasio in Latin mean the pro femi, that means something that let you talk. And so that's why for me this wine remember a lot about this meaning, and that's it. So the only thing that you could add, because you said everything about it, so
okay, thank you. The first wine is gone. We have other two to go with Camilla now online with me. Okay, we go another sip of Profasio. I think tonight I'm going to end up drunk. But, you know, this is the risk that someone that does this job has. We go on to the second wine. Conte Gastone, Amarone della Valpolicella 2015. The label is a masterpiece. So, Camille, well, first of all, I didn't mention your wines are organic. Very important. Which is something that is more and more common by younger winemakers. They all are going back to organic viticulture, very interesting. And the label is just beautiful. I love this. So I'm gonna ask you, so what's the difference in between like this classic label and this new label? What's the meaning of all?
You know, Francesco, when I started, I was really young, so I couldn't put some hearts and flowers on the label because anybody is gonna believe, trust me, you know. So indeed, I waited till people finally recognized that I could make good wines, even if I had no white hair. And I decided to go further and to find a way to express myself and my creativity till when I found a collaboration with a great artist that now is passed away, but he was 80 years
Very
old.
sad to hear that.
This person, Franco Chiani, designed these characters and brought this opera of many few characters to the Biennale in Venice. And he called it Facebook. So when he told me this story, I really fall in love with him and with this project. And together we made up this idea to play and tease the wine aristocracy, you know, and try to make fun of it. So trying to catch this way to make fun of the wine aristocracy, because we wanted to make younger people get closer to wine, get closer to the idea of recognize themselves in a product that wasn't like a Coke or beer, you know. So we decided to make it and to have fun together. And,
you did a great job. I love the label. I love it. And you have also you have this Amarone, and also you have the Ripasso, right, with the same label.
And a white one as well.
Oh, yeah.
So we have three bottles with this idea, and you can see Gastone Amarone. Even in the sound, yeah. we get fun of the name, and every single character has a small ironic story behind him.
Beautiful. It's, you know, it's fun. It's a beautiful label, and as you said, if you entered into the market, you were on your 20s. People would have said, okay, another naive girl, like young winemaker that is gonna make wine as a toy for 2 years. Then, you know, she gets tired eventually, and she'll, you know, leaves the job. But you did good. That now, you know, you conquered and you earned credit with your Amarone and with the Profazio, and then experimenting, doing something new is always a breath of fresh air. So okay, we go with this. I go with the tasting of this wine. I share the screen again. And we have, here we are. Massimago Conte Gastone 2015. Obviously Amarone della Valpolicella. Grapes are Corvina 70%, Corvinone 15%, Rondinella 15%. So grapes drying time, 90 days. Altitude is about 180 meters above sea level. Aging for 2 months in big barrels. The soil is mostly marley and clay soil. Bottles made around 10,000 bottles. Residual sugar, this is a dry wine, 3.7 grams per liter. Alcohol percentage, 16%, and price is gonna be 42 euros. I think this is an amazing value, because this wine, now we'll taste the wine. Wait, where am I? Okay, I'm here again. So this wine is an amazing value. Okay, let's go with it. Okay, the color is red ruby with almost like garnet nuances. Usually garnet color, you can find it in aged wine or in Nebbiolos. Like Barolo is always kind of garnet. And also the Brunello is kind of garnet when it's aged. But in Amarone, you can find it, because think about, you know, the wine is pretty young. It's only 5 years old, but the wine is kind of aged in the fruits barn. So it's, you know, it's dried for 90 days. So you have the feeling of an older wine, but it's a young wine with a beautiful and perfect acidity. This is, you know, Amarone is always very surprising, because when you taste Amarone, you have the sensation of sweetness, but then it's a dry wine with a big tannin as well. when you look at it, it looks like an old wine, but it's a young wine because it's got this acidity. So this is what I love of Amarone. It's very confusing because it's not very coherent on what you see and what you taste. And I like this. I like, you know, surprises. Amarone always surprises me. Okay, so we go with the nose, with the analysis of the smell of this amazing wine. Like much more intense than Profazio. Like this is like a punch to the face, a beautiful punch to the face. Also, the peppery note is bigger than the previous one. Nice, beautiful. You know, the nose is intense and beautifully complex, very complex. You have the initial notes of the Amarone. Always, you have a lot of fruit. These fruits, you know, jammy fruits. You have a plum and sour cherry jam, like you know, yeah, like a sour cherry jam. Then if you swirl the wine, because, you know, I'm saying this for the new wine drinkers, before we smell the wine when the glass is still, because some of the lighter components, they come up, and you have the lighter components, because we are analyzing, we're doing chemistry here. I was sucking in chemistry at school, but I studied chemistry with wine, through wine. So, you know, you swirl the wine because this way heavier components can, you know, come up into your nose. If you swirl the wine, you have, it becomes more and more complex. You have a lot of, yeah, this kind of peppery note, this note of black pepper, of cloves as well. In Italian, it's chiodi di garofano. We say cloves. I think is in English is the translation. You have like tobacco, also chocolate, like a beautiful sweet chocolate, and vanilla as well. Great overall quality in the nose. Beautifully balanced in the nose as well. Let's see the palate. Okay, we have a bodybuilder here, not me, but the wine. Structure and power as well, but, you know, very generous in alcohol, obviously, because it is an Amarone, 16% of alcohol. But still, you have this elegant touch. You have this class, this elegance. So finesse is common in all of your wine, Camilla. I think, I don't want it to sound like a cheesy compliment. It's just a pure compliment. I think the wine reflects the personality of the winemaker. And I think that your wine, you know, they have this very neat, very precise, they know where they belong. They know their place, but at the same time, they have a, you know, beautiful touch of elegance and class. And I think this wine, like big alcohol, big power, but still, yeah, very classy and elegance. And elegant. It's beautiful. Also, there's a very nice mineral touch to it, very salty. It's probably due to the soil. It's got beautiful minerals, beautiful mineral components, and very persistence as well. The tannin is very creamy, and this persistence of these aromas of plum and red flowers that I like very much. Very long depth. And this, I think, will go really well with roasted meat. And I think roasted meat will be perfect pairing with it. And the music pairing is one of my favorite artists of the last years. Unfortunately, she's not with us anymore. Amy Winehouse, on her prime, like this elegance, but yet with this beautiful tannin, like the graspy voice of Amy Winehouse, I think is a good pairing for me. Like a beautiful mix of blues, jazz, and soul music. I think it's a nice pairing. But this is just something very naive and personal, probably. But good job, Camilla. You have anything else to add?
You know, for me, you see, even with the next Amarone, for me, Amarone is not a rugby player. So I really look forward to elegance, to something vertical, much more than horizontal. So that's, for me, is what I want to get from an Amarone. And sometimes you see when you go to a restaurant as well, and you never know what to expect from an Amarone. So in this way, probably proposing Gastone, you can get something much more gastronomic. So you should not feel guilty to open a bottle of Amarone. So
yes, you're right.
you're
right. Yes. Yeah, because the problem with Amarone, and I was saying that with the Brunello as well, the problem is, the general public say, oh, it's an Amarone. We have to open, you have to wait. You have to wait the special occasion. And then you open it 25 years or you die before, worst case scenario. Better case scenario, 25 years later, you have perfect health condition, but the wine maybe is dead because you didn't keep it properly. So drink the wines. Don't feel guilty about opening an Amarone because, as you say, these wines, your wines are very vertical, beautiful drinkability, beautiful balance, very vibrant, beautiful acidity, So don't feel guilty about opening an Amarone. Okay, third wine. Here we go with your, you have too much light here. Okay. Amarone della Valpolicella, the one with the normal label. Do you mind if I ask you the difference in between the two Amarone that we are tasting?
No, they're completely different because the first one we tasted already is coming from kind of a parcel that is what we call the black sheep, because it's the land, the soil used is mainly clay. The rest of the property has limestone. That's why we call it the black sheep, not because something worst. Absolutely. So this Amarone is coming from our top crew. So Massimago is already monopole, is like one crew of 30 hectares. This is coming from the top of the hill, so 350 400 meters on the sea level. That's why it's really a masterpiece for us, and that's why it has a completely different label. The process is mainly the same, but what is changing is the aging on oak is aging 1 year more, and also is much more concentrate because of the exposure of the sun, the altitude, and the type of soil. Yeah.
While you were talking, I was tasting, and yes, it's true. Beautiful expression of a terroir, because some people, again, the wine snobs that I'm fighting for my whole life at work with, they say you cannot feel terroir and soil in Amarone. It's not necessarily true, because I think the wine that we're drinking now is fruit of its terroir, and it's really well made. Okay, Massimago Amarone 2015, Corvina 65%, Corvinone 30%, Rondinella 5%. Grapes drying time 90 days. Altitude is, as you said, is higher, 350 meters above sea level. Aging 30 months. Is that correct? Yes. In big barrels? Also, because I think I found it on your website. So if it's not correct, it's your fault, not mine. The soil is limestone, as you said. The bottles made are around 10,000, residual sugar really low, 2.3%, 2.3 grams per liter. Alcohol percentage pretty high, 17%, but you don't feel it. This is why I always say Amarone is the friend that you should never trust. Because if you drink Amarone, you don't feel this high percentage of alcohol until you stand from the table, from the chair, and you realize that, the world is turning around. And you are drunk. So this is why I call Amarone the friend that you cannot trust. The price is 62 euros of this one, so it's a little bit higher than the others. But there's a lot of attention to details on this wine. Let's go with the tasting. The color is a red ruby, I would say. There's no garnet nuances to it. Red ruby. Beautiful. It's deeper than Profazio, but still, you see the light here. There's a beautiful light to this wine as well. It's very, very, very intriguing. Okay, see the nose? Nice. The nose is exuberant and intense, beautiful, beautiful intensity. You have sour cherries under spirit. So, you know, the maraschino cherry that you put in alcohol. This is because you have the feeling of alcohol here, obviously 17%. You feel this alcohol, but it's, again, very neat and precise, the wine, and very well balanced. You have obviously dried plum. Again, I'll be repetitive. The dried plum is a common thing in most of the Amarones. There's a very complex side of spices here. I have like cinnamon, like a beautiful cinnamon, clove. Again, this black pepper that is beautiful and very elegant, almost like a sweet, like black pepper, but it's sweet. It's not too dry. You have a lot of tobacco as well here. You have a tobacco of highest quality. Beautiful note of sweet chocolate as well. It's very chocolate. It's like, you know, these chocolate pralines that are filled with rum. It reminds me a lot of that one. Like when I was a kid, I was 10 years old. I was eating those chocolate pralines with alcohol on it, and I love them. I finally realized that, you know, I had two ways ahead of me, whether I become an alcoholic or a sommelier, which is very similar. It's kind of the same thing, but I made a profession out of my drinking habits, and very interesting. This one is very like deep and introspective. I don't know if it's the right word to use, but very introspective. There's a lot of, because as long as I smell it, I smell something different. And, you know, when they say that Amarone is like flamboyant and redundant and there's just fruit, if they smell this wine, they will change their mind, because this wine is introspective, is, you know, like kaleidoscopic. It changes every time that you put the nose into it. You discover something different. Very, very interesting. Let's see if, you know, the palate represents the same quality. Very robust and generous, obviously. Very generous in alcohol, obviously, but extremely elegant. You know, that again, this contrast, that you have this sensation of sweetness at the beginning when you drink Amarone because of the glycerin. Well, this is a very technical term, but you have this creaminess, this smoothness in the mouth at the beginning. But then it's a dry wine. It's dry, no sugar left. Beautiful acidity, very vertical, and this tannin is very elegant, very creamy, very polished as well. And it's, you know, it's beautiful, because as long as I'm talking, I have an effluvium of red fruit, of licorice, of like kind of like this tobacco, this chocolate with alcohol in my mouth, and it's very long finish, beautiful depth. And is very, again, very introspective wine. It's not a wine that, you know, you drink it and you have the feeling of greatness for 2 seconds and then it disappears. It's a wine that, you know, it's a continuum of quality, and it develops in my mouth perfectly. I mean, I love this. Like, I can really hurt myself with a wine that has 17% of alcohol, but has this balance and drinkability. I can really damage my system and my liver and my body with this, because beautiful drinkability. Yeah. So yeah, the wine pairing, I think this is the standard and classical wine pairing that you can make with Amarone, in my opinion, which is hard cheese, like Parmesan cheese, aged like for 30 months, like a seasoned aged cheese, with balsamic on top, like with 5 drops of balsamico on top. I think this is the perfect pairing. And music-wise, I need to call Ella Fitzgerald, like you know, Aretha Franklin, like something blues and jazz, and because this introspectiveness is very jazz to me. You know, with a big soul and still class and elegance. I think Ella Fitzgerald, I think, is a good pairing with this wine. So one of my favorite singers of all time. So, well, congratulations, Camilla.
No, thank you.
Anything?
Because yeah, I wish I could be a wine to be described by you as a wine, because you're like kind of a psychologist. You really read them in a perfect way. So thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. It's easy when you have wines that speak for themselves. I have an easy job because this wine speaks to me, and you know you're doing a great job. So congratulations.
Thank you.
I think if we have someone online that has any question for me, but obviously to Camilla, you guys take advantage of this moment. Okay, Steven and Davidia from California. I'm gonna activate your audio, activate your video as well. There you are, guys, looking great with the beautiful Perbacco Wine Club hats.
Ciao Camilla.
Ciao, hello.
Ciao. Molto grazie per la lezione, è veramente un gran piacere scoprire il suo vino.
You're perfect. Your Italian is perfect.
Well, I'll speak in English.
Steven speaks an amazing Italian.
Wow.
So your wines are just beautiful. Oh, you were talking earlier about some of the drying methods and the problems that you've had. Do you have any problem with botrytism in your wines?
Not really. Sometimes it happens, but really, if you control everything, if you control the humidity and temperature, it is easier because you probably imagine that when you stock all the grapes all together, the humidity raise up really quickly. And the humidity is really high, it's like 70% sometimes. So to keep the grapes to keep them safe as much as possible, you use some machines that gonna help the air passing through the building and passing through and getting out the humidity. And you use this machine. I use this machine just for 30 days, just to put in safe the grapes. After that, I can open the windows of the building and trying to relax and let them breathe naturally. But the first 30 days is important to use these machines because otherwise you lose the grape. So as you said, with mold, with really important problems. That's why it's also important to get safe grapes even when you get the grapes in the building. So they should be really perfect. So without cuts, without any kind of insects or small holes. You know, sometimes it happens. But in this way, if you have the proper workers in the fields, and if you try to work as much possible with careful, you can keep the grape safe.
Thank you.
This is why it's a tough job. Well, thank you, Steven and Davidia. So Steven and Davidia from San Francisco, California. They're two amazing friends, and they were here in February. I mentioned this in the Brunello tasting. We did a wine tasting week with the previews of the Vino Nobile di Montepulciano, of the Brunello di Montalcino and the Chianti Classico, a week of event where they present the new vintage. So Steve and Davidia, they know a lot about wine. Actually, sometimes I have a hard time because in the wine club, there are some people that know wine better than I do, probably. So sometimes they ask some questions that sometimes it's difficult for me to answer. But Steven mentioned Botrytis cinerea, botrytis, which is like the noble rot that is developed on the grapes, sometimes intentionally, to make amazing dessert wines. So this, I was just explaining what botrytis is. Sometimes you have like Sauterne from France, which is an amazing dessert wine, is made because some particular climatic conditions, you have a lot of humidity in the vineyards and you develop these molds, this noble rot in the grapes. But it's not something that you want to make Amarone, obviously, because this would spoil the whole production. So this will be very bad. So let's see if someone else is online. I see people online. We have 7 groups. We have a lot of people that are not online that will watch this in the next weeks, because obviously 2 days ago it was Thanksgiving. So some groups that were meant to be together for the wine tasting, or because of the COVID, they couldn't meet in one place, or because they were away for Thanksgiving. So they postponed this wine tasting and they will watch the recorded version. We have people on Facebook as well. Mary, are there any questions on Facebook? No? Let's see, I open the chat one more time, and then I think, Camilla, I will let you go, and thank you so much.
Probably because you are so clear. So
no, I'm not.
Because it's impossible to have questions with you.
You're too kind.
Really clear, and yeah, I should call you as a professor with some other situations, because
you can pay me. You can pay me in wine. It's no problem.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Yeah. No, thank you very much. You have been the perfect special guest. You've been incredibly kind, incredibly, gentle to ask all my questions. And again, your wines are amazing. Now, when you will leave the chat, I will show your frutaio, the pictures, because I showed them really quickly before, but I want to give people an idea of what a frutaio is like from inside and outside. Also, your fruit barn is beautiful because it's in the heart of the vineyard. And also you have, this is another thing about younger winemakers. The way you communicate the wine is very innovative. You use a lot of social media, and you have a beautiful wine relay that Mary and I were supposed to visit you this month, but Tuscany became a red zone, which is like the 3 years of warning for COVID in Italy. For some reason, Tuscany, like Montepulciano, no one is in Montepulciano. Like in Rome, restaurants are open, and in Montepulciano, that nobody in the street, like all the shops are closed. This is very silly and stupid, but anyway, so we couldn't come and visit you at Massimago. You have a beautiful relay where you have the vineyard, and very educational, and you're communicating the wine in a perfect way, and the wine is really good. You're doing a great job.
But no, I can't wait to show you directly the frutaio and the vines, and to let you relax a little bit. And,
yes, this is a very stressful job, It's tough. Grazie mille, Camilla. Thank you very much again. Thank you. Ciao, ciao. Okay, this is going to be a one-man show from now on. You just see my ugly face. Yep, we go with the 4th wine. But before, I'm going to show you, as promised, the pictures from the fruit barn of Massimago. It's very educational and very nice as well. Very beautiful. Okay, so this is the map of Valpolicella. Verona is here. This is the Valpolicella Classica, and Camilla is located right here in Mezzane di Sotto. So also, if you want to go visit her and stay in our beautiful hotel, Wine Relais, you can, from here, you can visit Verona. It's like really close, probably not even in a half an hour. So these are the pictures. This is the soil, beautiful clay and limestone, beautiful. This is the cellar and the tasting room. And again, this is the frutaio, the fruit barn. You see, this is the highest vineyard that she has, probably the one from the last wine we've tasted. The shape is just beautiful on the outside. You see, this is the structure from the outside. This is when they were building it. And this is it. We have two videos that Camilla gently sent me today. She doesn't use straw mats. She uses plastic buckets, which are more, you know, the hygiene is much better because it's, you know, it's an inert material. This is it. And this is the beautiful structure. And again, you see the dried grapes of Corvina here. Just beautiful, ready to be picked, ready to be pressed and to make amazing Amarone. Well, nothing, I just wanted to share with you all this, these beautiful photos. Okay, we go to the fourth wine, Begali, Winery Begali, a boutique winery led by Lorenzo Begali and its beautiful family. Begali is a great representative of the farming tradition in Valpolicella, which is, you know, the most important thing is the respect for the environment, the respect for the soil, and great attention to the vineyard. So there's nothing bad to, sometimes you say when some winemakers in the 90s, they wanted to be called farmers. They wanted to be called winemakers and they wanted to be like stars, but this is what they are. They are farmers and they do farming because a good wine is firstly made in the vineyard. So like Camilla, she's an agronomist. So she studied the soil, she studies the plant. And these guys are farmers. They're doing a tremendous job in the vineyard. And this job and this great attention to details, it's reflected into the wine. So we see a few photos of Begali Winery. Here they are. This is the Begali family. This is their fruttaio, the fruit barn, the vineyard, and the cellar with Mr. Lorenzo Begali. Again, they are located in the Valpolicella Classica, Negrar. Negrar is the original town of Amarone, where Amarone pretty much was born here in Negrar, very close to Verona as well. Okay, this is the technical data. Begali Amarone Classico 2014. Since they are in Valpolicella Classica area, they can call their Amarone Classico. So it's an Amarone della Valpolicella Classico Do, CG. Grapes are Corvina, 65%, Rondinella 30%, and other grape varietals, 5%. The grapes drying time is 90 days. The altitude is 250 meters. The aging is 36 months in big barrels and 500 liters tonneau. So big barrels, usually Slovenian oak, and tonneau is the recipient that has 500 liters. So double the size of a French barrel. So 500 liters tonneau with French oak. The soil is limestone soil. Bottles made 8,000, really, really limited production. Residual sugars really low, 2 grams per liter. Alcohol percentage, 16%, and price is gonna be 42 euros. Another great value. Okay, this is my face again. I drink a sip of water, otherwise I won't make it to the end of the tasting. So this is it. Amarone della Valpolicella Classico 2014 from Begali Lorenzo. Yeah, 16% of alcohol. Very limited production. So let's see this wine. The color is almost like a red ruby, very intense, almost on the garnet side. Also good viscosity as well because of the alcohol content, obviously, which is typical of the Amarone. Let's see the smell. A lot of fruits, obviously. This dried plum again hits me with the steel glass and black currant as well. Like this is more jammy than the previous wines. And it's a 2014, which is the coldest and rainiest vintage we've had in our country. Only in Amarone you can reach this intensity and this alcohol content by drying the grapes. And I think Begali family in 2014. Some people, they didn't produce Amarone. I think Camilla, she didn't produce Amarone in 2014 because it was a very difficult vintage, a lot of rain. So what happens, like Stephen was saying, you can develop some botrytis and some molds. So 2014, it was a very sensitive year because the grapes, they didn't have enough structure to stand 90 or 120 days in the frutaio, in the fruit barn. So they did a great job in the vineyard for sure to deliver an amazing Amarone. This is something that this structure on 2014, you can have it in Italy only in Amarone. No other wine is going to have this incredible structure. Okay, let's go with, again, let's swirl the wine. Yeah, again, this plum, dried plum and black currant and the spirit, and like a rich tobacco, like on the cigar side, like a cigar before you smoke it. Obviously, after, if it smells like smoked cigar, will be like terrible taste. But it's a beautiful smell of like raw cigar. This one is earthy, way more earthy than Camilla's wine. Beautiful earthiness, which again sounds like when a wine smells or tastes like earth, it sounds nasty, but it's a beautiful, beautiful quality because it's a beautiful earthiness that this wine has and very well integrated into the beautiful bouquet. And also like these like kind of black pepper notes again, but also like licorice notes again, but also balsamic notes. This one is very balsamic, like eucalyptus notes, very balsamic. And balsamic nuances, you find them in really warm vintages, not in cold vintages like 2014. So again, this is very surprising. Amarone is a continuous surprise to me. I'm always surprised by Amarone. Okay, let's see if the palate is the same structure. Yeah, it's warm, this warmth of alcohol, this smoothness, juiciness. This is juicy. You're like a pomegranate juice with this acidity, but a lot of juice in my mouth, a lot of juices in my mouth. Beautiful structure, very structured and more tannic. The tannin is more kicky than Massimago wines. Massimago tannin is probably more polished. The tannin has a bite to it, has a kick to it. So tannin, for the ones that don't know, tannins are polyphenols, and they are in the skins of the grapes. They make sure that the wine can be aged for a long time because there are chemical component that helps the aging of wines, and they give this kind of sensation of bite, this bitterness in the tongue, in the palate, and in the lips as well, and in the gums as well of your mouth. So it's more tannic, slightly more tannic than Massimago, but still the tannin is beautiful. Probably this will go really well, with other types of food, more succulent. The tannin, yeah, is very firm and grippy, but yet really gentle and well balanced. So beautiful, long-lasting finish of dried plum. Again, the wine is not redundant. Again, when the wine snobs, they say that Amarone is redundant, they should drink these wines, because a redundant wine has an overwhelming impact in the beginning, but then after 2 seconds, it just disappears, has nothing more to tell you. This wine is a continuous development because it has got that kind of impact, because it's big on fruit, big on alcohol, but still acidity, tannin, all the components. And again, these fruits that I have in my mouth, a lot of, dried plum, this beautiful sensation of licorice, this beautiful acidity and this beautiful minerality, just beautifully balanced. Yeah, I think this will go really well with like a steak, probably perfect steak wine, or grilled meat, something very succulent, or a stew, or like something like a meat preparation, something very succulent, because the tannins and the alcohol dehydrate your mouth. So if you eat a steak, the steak creates a lot of succulence into your mouth, and you have it sounds gross, but you have a lot of fluids in your mouth. You have a lot of saliva in your mouth. So alcohol, a big generous amount of alcohol and a beautiful tannin, they dry this filling up and they make a perfect pairing, because the two things, the steak and the wine, they perfectly balance themselves. Again, this is Mr. Miyagi of wine speaking. So, you know, this is an Amarone with blues and earthy characteristics. So I think the perfect pairing will be Ray Charles. Ray Charles with this beautiful, introspective and graspy voice and this amazing talent. I think this will be a perfect pairing. So Begali, congratulations, Lorenzo Begali. We will taste, the last wine will be the Recioto, so the dessert wine made by Begali in 2015. So we'll talk about Begali later on. I'll drink another sip of this because I love it. And then we go on to the fifth wine. Okay, look at the label. It's just a piece of art. The winemaker is Antolini, Amarone della Valpolicella, Caccoato. This is a single vineyard, 2010. So we have the honor of tasting a wine that is on its peak, on just the highest level. Like this, I mean, on its peak, it doesn't mean that you drink it now and it's perfect and tomorrow will die. This wine has a beautiful shelf life, in my opinion, and we will taste it, because this is very interesting to taste a wine that has some aging on his shoulders, you know, on his past. Okay, I shared the screen again, and we go to see. It's becoming more difficult because I'm drinking a lot. In the first Brunello tasting, I was on antibiotics. I wasn't tasting the wine, but now I'm kind of enjoying myself with these beautiful Amarones. Okay, again, this is Begali. We should turn page. And here we are. Again, the map of Valpolicella. Again, Verona is here, where I'm pointing at now. Camilla is here. Begali is here. And Antolini, they're located in Marano, in the town of Marano, right here. The Antolini family, the Antolini brothers. They are, you know, another family that represents the tradition of farming in Valpolicella with their beautiful maronge. Maronge in Veneton dialects means like terraces. So you see here the picture, they built walls and terraces to avoid the erosion of soil and to give the best ventilation, the best possible sun exposure, and the best possible draining to the vineyard. I mean, guys, this is a tough job right here. The maronge here, the terraces here, this is a very tough business. And it's not something that you build in one day. This takes a lot of manual work, a lot of passion, and a lot of respect for the soil, a lot of respect for the terroir, and a lot of attention to details. So again, this is the fruit barn. Look at this, is an amazing picture. Amazing picture with the snow, with the Antolini logo, and this is one of the Antolini brothers. I think this is Pierpaolo, I think. Don't get me wrong. They're following right now Facebook. Hello, Antolini family. I don't want to be wrong about this. Okay, let's go to analyze the wine. Again, on the background, I found these beautiful pictures of the fruit barn where, you know, the grapes are drying. This is something very, see the grapes on the background. These are very recently harvested. And we have Antolini Caccoato, which is a mention of a cru, of a single vineyard, 2010. An amazing, spectacular vintage. Guys, this is a treat. So you owe me for this. I managed to find the last 15 bottles of these amazing wines, probably in the world. So this is a treat. This is something very spectacular to taste a wine on its better drinking window. So grapes are Corvina, 40%, Corvinone, 40%, Rondinella, 20%. So the grapes drying time is 120 days. So the grapes lose 40% of their weight. And the Antolini family, they lose 40% of the production. So, you know, it's a very tough business to be in. Also because consider you release this wine after 3 years, so it's a big investment for the family, obviously. The altitude of the vineyard is in between 170 and 220 meters above sea level. Aging is for 24 months in big barrels, Slovenian oak. The soil is similar to the one that Camilla has, clay and limestone. Bottles made really limited, a small single vineyard, 5,000 bottles. Residual sugar is really low, 2.5 grams per liter. Alcohol percentage, another generous wine, 16.5%, and the price is 78 euros. I only have a few bottles left of this one, like 3-4 bottles probably left. And if you'd like to order this wine and I run out of it, we have the 2015 vintage available, which is extremely high quality vintage for 55 euros. So I go back to the screen. This is my face again. Again, we are tasting Antolini, Amarone della Valpolicella, Caccoato 2010, with this beautiful creative label. Okay, let's go on with the tasting of this. Oh. The color is red ruby on the garnet side. This is definitely on the garnet side, almost kind of brownish as well, but still with the beautiful, you see the light through it. Beautiful color. You can tell that this wine has more, it's been aged for more time than the previous ones. Let's see the nose. Very intense, a beautiful intensity. Extremely complex. So the complexity, again, the intensity in a wine is when you feel how big is the smell that you feel. That's the intensity. So if you smell a wine from far away, it means that it's very intense. If you need to put your nose fully into the glass, if you have a big nose, even better, it means that the wine is not that intense, but it doesn't mean that the quality is low, or a high intensity doesn't mean that the quality is necessarily high. What defines the quality is the neatness and the preciseness of the components, and also the complexity. Complexity is when you feel a lot of smells, not just the fruit, but many other things. And this, the complexity of this one, in my opinion, is majestic. It's beautiful, it's overwhelming, it's just perfect. You have notes of obviously dried plum, but also dried raisins, because at the end of the day, you make wine with raisins, with dried grapes. So you have notes of raisins on this one, like a blue raspberry, very mature. You know, dried flowers like a potpourri. And then you have spices of, again, black pepper of incredible quality. Tobacco of finest quality, like in our trip, Mary and I went to Cuba, and you have the tobacco hanging where they make the cigars, and the smell of tobacco is beautiful. They have this beautiful quality, high quality tobacco, and this reminds me a lot of it. You have, again, licorice and chocolate. I don't want to sound repetitive, but we're tasting similar wines. Again, this chocolate is like a chocolate, like a dark chocolate with praline, with rum on it. Beautiful. It's balsamic, ethereal, incredibly elegant, earthy as well, very earthy, but kind of earth like mushroom and truffle earthiness, kind of, which is the best compliment you can make to an earthy wine is when you say that it smells like truffle. This, you have truffles and mushrooms as well, so it's the best compliment that you can make. So this wine is at its peak for complexity. Let's see the palates. Let's taste it. My heart is beating now. Wow, even the previous wines were amazing, but this one, it's beautiful to see how an Amarone developed within 10 years of aging. The structure, I mean, obviously structured, warm and smooth as all the Amarones. The tannins are silky, incredibly creamy, silky, beautifully integrated with the structure of the wine. I mean, this is pure perfection. So still acidic. So the acidity is still there. So this wine can go for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, who knows? But on a perfect timing to drink it, beautifully balanced. I've tasted this year also the 2015, and compared to this one, obviously 2015 will be a little bit more tannic, but extremely high quality wine as well. So Antolini family, they're working really well, and I have to give you credit for this because your Amarones are very, very representative of Valpolicella, and you make, again, amazing wine. Like I was telling Camilla, like I said, for Begali, the balance is perfect. The wine is not too overwhelming. The wine has a beautiful depth, a beautiful long finish. So this is a pure perfection and a majestic Amarone, a symbol of what this area of what this wine can reach. So extremely high quality and infinite persistency of these flavors of tobacco, these flavors of leather as well in my mouth as I talk, like this blueberry, and beautifully done. Great job, Antolini. This is just perfect. I think the perfect wine pairing. I think the perfect wine pairing is just your better half, the person you love, by the fireplace, just by itself as a meditation wine. I think this is a perfect wine to drink by itself. But also, obviously, this goes really well with game, with meat, with mushroom and truffle preparations, like Guinea fowls with stuffed with mushrooms, or with like a truffle on top. This would be like perfect. You'll be in heaven without dying, which is important. Like it's important to be in heaven while you are not dead, while you're still alive. Would be the perfect daydream of a wine lover. I think music wise, you have powers. You have power. You have elegance and class. I think the voice Frank Sinatra with this will just perfectly. I think if you drink this wine in front of the fireplace with the person you love, and you put a little bit of Frank Sinatra on the background, I think you nail it, you kill it. Beautiful wine. Wow, congratulations to the Antolini family. I'm happy. I like this job. I don't dislike the lockdown, actually. I'm losing a lot of money with the restaurant, but I have more time to focus on the wine club. I have more time to focus on customer service as well. I have more time to do these wine pairings, these wine tastings. I don't think that would be possible with this. So the restaurant now would be buzzing with people. We would have the Christmas markets if we weren't in COVID, of course, restrictions. And I don't know if I had time to do this. So, this is something that I really enjoy doing, that I hope you enjoy doing as well. So I really hope that you guys are having a good time and you're forgetting about the ugly situation that surrounds our lives nowadays. Okay, last wine, and I promise I'm done. We go again with Begali, Recioto della Valpolicella, 2015. Recioto da Valpolicella Classico. So this is made with a different winemaking process, 13.5% of alcohol. So many of you would think, so a dry wine has 17% and a dessert wine at 13.5%. Many of you will ask why. So this is because there's the same sugars in the grapes because they were dried for the same amount of time, or the Recioto even more. But okay, let's say they are dried for the same amount of time, say 120 days. The grapes, they have a big concentration, big ripening, and they lose 40% of their weight. So mostly water, they lose mostly water. The same percentage of sugar during the fermentation. If the fermentation finishes and the wine is fermented on its 100% of fermentation, you obviously turn all the sugars into alcohol. Then you have 16.5% of alcohol. If you don't complete the whole fermentation, but you stop the fermentation at certain time, you have less alcohol, 13.5, but you have residual sugar left in the wine. Therefore, you have a dessert wine. So again, this is the difference in between Amarone and Recioto. Amarone dry, Recioto sweet, dessert. I share the screen now. And we see the technical data of takes more time. Even my computer is getting drunk with these beautiful Amarones. Okay, we see again the Begali family. This is the technical details. Begali Recioto Classico 2015. Recioto della Valpolicella Classico. Grapes are Corvina, 65%, Rondinella 30%, and other grapes 5%. Same composition of the Amarone, but a longer grapes drying time, 120 to 150 days of drying time. Because you need more sugar, you need more concentration for the Recioto probably. Altitude is 250 meters above sea level. Aging is 12 months in 500 liters tonneau. Again, the tonneau is the double-sized barrel. So like French barrels, 250 liters, and tonneau is 500 liters. The soil is limestone soil. Bottles made very limited production, 3,000. And this is a half-liter bottle, actually. I didn't mention that. Recioto is usually whether in half bottles or half-liter bottles. Residual sugar. So this is a sweet wine, 80 grams per liter. Alcohol percentage 13.5, and the price 42 euros. Another amazing value. Drink a sip of water. And here we go. The color is a beautiful red ruby, very intense. What hits me is the viscosity of the wine. So the viscosity is the density of the liquid that we are drinking. It's more because there's residual sugar on this one. And you know, let's smell of, you know, this is one of the excellencies of Valpolicella in Italy from a winemaking perspective. Beautiful nose, very lustful, rich, and lascivious as well. Beautifully balanced as well. You expect a lot of sweet notes, but beautifully balanced as well. The fruit is obviously jammy, obviously, you know, like a red currant and sour cherry jam, but also I smell like fig on this one, like a dried fig, very, very present, and also, you know, walnut as well. And notes of ink. Sounds very gross, but I guess this is due to the minerality as well. You don't have this kind of smells in many dessert wines, unless you're picking a dessert wine made out of Riesling. Beautiful minerality as well in the nose. This note of ink is due to the minerality. You know, very, beautiful qualities and very precise aromas. Beautiful, beautiful smell of this wine. Very elegant, very fruity, and very complex as well. See the palate. Beautiful bittersweet feeling on this wine I'm having. Bitter sweet, because the sweetness is due obviously to sugar, residual sugars left. And the bitterness is due to the fact that this wine has acidity. This wine has tannin. It's tannic. It's kind of a bite to it, a kick to it. Very interesting. Beautifully balanced. And this effluvium of red currant, of like a red berries syrup, very syrupy as well. It's beautiful in my mouth. Like my taste buds are just throwing a party now, because this wine is just beautiful. You see, it's sometimes, you know, dessert wines are just too sweet and too flamboyant, and they tire you after the first sip. You don't feel like drinking another sip of it. But this one, you can drink it because it's got that kind of acidity, that kind of tension, that's kind of verticality, and this beautiful tannin at the end. So since this wine is tannic, would do a perfect wine pairing with a chocolate tart. So, you know, chocolate is like the steak. Chocolate makes you salivate a lot because it's got this succulence. You eat chocolate and you have a lot of fluids in your mouth. So again, this alcohol and this tannin that will dry up the succulence and that will make the perfect pairing with chocolate. I think the perfect pairing now that comes to my mind is a chocolate tart with syrup of red berries and red currants on top, and also like small red fruits on top. If you take this tart, I mean, the tart and the wine will be really bad for your diet, for your diet, but will be amazing for your soul, because you'll be a happy person. Because I think this will be a perfect pairing. Amazing dessert wine. Recioto is a great pick. No wonder that Recioto is present on a lot of wine by the glass lists on very important, really high-end, like Michelin star restaurants, because this pairs incredibly well with dark chocolate, one of the best wines to pair chocolate with, and great on its own as well. Again, another beautiful meditation wine, like the Amarone we were tasting before. Music, you know, obviously the music pairing with this, since it's sweet and beautiful and extremely pleasant, I think a love song, obviously, like Unchained Melody. Unchained Melody sung by, you know, Elvis Presley, or the original version, I think will be a perfect pairing with it, because this is something that, you know, a wine very sweet that you can enjoy with the person that you love. I think I'm being very romantic, you know. I'm very romantic after the sixth glass of wine, usually, but ask Mary that. Yeah, beautiful wine. I think I'm gonna finish this. This is how a good sommelier finishes a glass of wine. And again, we're pretty much done. Thank you to the person that are online now. You have Christopher and Annette. Thank you guys very much. Have Dailin Bennett. Thank you, Dailin, for being with us. Stephen and Davidia, you guys are amazing. I love you. And there are a lot of people, since now, you know, people that couldn't watch this live, they bought the wines for the masterclass and they will watch it in the next days. I think about the guys in West Virginia, friends of my amazing friend Ralph Modena, which is a great guy. So he managed to get 2 groups together, probably 3 groups together, to taste these beautiful wines. And also my beautiful friends from Detroit, Mary and I, we love Haggai's family. Haggai, Scott, and Yali will be there from Michigan as well. So I hope you guys will enjoy the recorded version of this wine tasting. And, you know, again, thank you very much. Just one thing again, I'm going to do this. Christopher is writing, thank you, Francesco. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chris and Annette. Thank you guys very much, big time. The website is www.perbaccomontepulciano.com/masterclasses. This is the email that you can reach me out to, perbaccomontepulciano@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram. We have some, you know, some crazy new things coming up Perbacco Wine Club. On Facebook, people are watching us now live, Perbacco Wine Club on Facebook. And I will upload the recorded version of this wine tasting on Osteria del Borgo channel on YouTube. So, oh, wait, the price list, the most important thing. I gotta make a living out of it. Hold on a second, you guys. It ain't over until I say it's over. See? Okay. This was Begali. There we are. This is the price list. Obviously, free shipping to the USA. The members of the wine club are familiar with it, with this system. Massimago, Valpolicella Profasio. The first one is 32 euros, amazing value. Massimago Conte Gastone, the second wine, 42 euros, another amazing value. Massimago Amarone Classico is 62 euros. Begali Amarone 2014 is 42 euros. And we have availability of this, and also 2015, which is an amazing vintage, same price. Antolini Caccoato 2010 is 78 euros, but we only have 3 bottles left, I think. And we have availability of the 2015 vintage, which is as good as amazing as, for 55 euros. And the last wine, Begali Recioto della Valpolicella 2015, 42 euros. The 12 bottles combined, so 2 bottles of each one of these wines, 520 euros, and you will receive the Antolini Caccoato 2015, 12 bottles of your choice minus 5% discount, 24 bottles of your choice minus 10% discount, 36 bottles of more. I will cut your lawn grass for 2 weeks. Special offer for you guys. Before, for the Super Tuscan and the Barolo, it was that I was cleaning your house. This time we'll cut your lawn grass. And again, thank you very much. So remember that we have the next 2 master classes will be December 13th, Barolo and Barbaresco, another amazing masterclass. You know, I just tell you the title of the masterclass. The title is Barolo, a Love Story. So how can you miss this amazing virtual tasting? And we have 2 amazing guests, the Caterina from Burzi Winery, and also we have another very special guest from Rizzi family, Ernesto. And then on December 27th, we have the Chianti Classico and Vino Nobile. It will be a lot of things to say about these 2 amazing wines, but I'll try to be as short as possible. So, okay, this wine tasting has lasted for 2 hours. I love you guys so much. Thank you for the incredible support. Thank you to Mary for the great help. Thank you guys very much again. See you in 2 weeks. Anything you need to know, Christopher is saying grazie, Mary. So, Mary. Yeah, she's writing in the chat. Thank you, Chris. So thank you guys for being with us. This means a lot to us, and I hope you had fun. And again, see you in 2 weeks. I love you so much. Bye-bye, guys. Ciao, ciao.